Just don't they know once I learn one of these things, they can never change it.
I know.
Yeah, that always happens. And I'm
It
like,
sucks for everyone.
why?
Okay. Oh, yeah, there. Now it's working. Yay, now it's working. Okay, let me do this. Okay, cool. We are now, okay, we are
We are
live
now
on the
live on the
live
YouTube.
on the YouTube. Okay, I feel like everyone's here. Sean isn't here, but I think he'll come in. I know that Jewel was trying to be here, but the
She's here.
internet was blocking her.
I see Jules right there.
Yes. Okay, cool. I guess we'll just start now. And if anyone comes in, I'll let them in. So, hey, everyone, this is a conversation we're having about chronic pain. And it's October and winter is coming. So I know I experience a difference in my pain when it gets colder. So I feel everybody does in some way. So I just thought it would be great to talk about what we do to stay productive, even though it's cold, and what we can do to, to combat the pain we feel. And Renee isn't here yet, but she'll come in. She's on the West Coast. So I think she's doing a little stuff. But Renee actually emailed me yesterday, and one of the things she said, she read some, I can't remember where she read it. I'll ask her when she comes in. But she said that chronic pain was the number one cause of disability. That disability, like that's like chronic pain causes disability the most in the disabled community. So, and they said that finding a solution to chronic pain is actually human rights, because a lot of humans suffer from chronic pain. So I guess I'm just going to start with my experience. Like when it gets cold, I have spasticity and neuropathy, which is comes from nerve damage. And I feel like people with cerebral palsy and any nerve brain related issue kind of suffer from the same set of side effects. And yeah, when the winter comes, the spasticity, I don't know if it affects my neuropathy. I have to figure that out, but it definitely affects my spasticity, because spasticity is when your muscles tighten. And of course, when it gets cold, your muscles tighten even more. So it's, so what I do is I just use heat as much as possible. I use hot water bottles, heating pads, hot showers. Those are, and yeah, and a TENS machine. Those are the kinds of things I use to kind of battle the spasticity in the morning, just to get out of bed. And then the rest of the day, I just end up using hot water bottles, heating pads, and stuff like that. So I don't know if anybody who wants to go next.
I'll go next.
Okay, Talia.
Hi, everyone. My name's Talia Flores. I am a 26-year-old born with spastic dysplasia, the most common form of cerebral palsy that mostly affects my left side more so than my right side. And during the winter, it basically affects my CP 100 times worse on the average day. Cerebral palsy is a condition that affects my spasticity. So whenever it's winter, I like to cuddle up in my pajamas and drink hot chocolate and rely a lot on medical marijuana, to be honest. I mean, it's been my way of coping with chronic illness for the past few years. Before that, I didn't really have a solution for anything, because all the doctors would do was give me pills and different things that would give me different side effects, and I just hated it. But having CBD oil and then getting the opportunity to have my medical marijuana license has helped me out a ton. I'm more focused. I'm more motivated, and the pain is like less than it was before. And I'm able to move around more with my mobility.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So I just feel like we should say, I feel a lot of people like feel embarrassed to say they use medical marijuana, but I think we're living in a time now where we should be like, yeah, I use this for my pain. And there shouldn't be like some sort of apologetic notion to that. So, because medical marijuana does help a lot of people with a lot of things. It's not a cure-all, because I feel like anytime something comes out, everybody's like, this will cure everything. And it's not for everything, but it does help some things. So I'm really glad, Talia, that you have found a relief in your pain through that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. OG, you want to go next?
Yeah, building on what Talia said, I have just the opposite experience. I've have the experience of medical marijuana did nothing for me, and I wish it would. Nothing would give me greater joy, but it just doesn't. And so I'm one of those people that the only pain relief that's ever worked for me, and trust me, they've tried me on 27 different medications, has been just your standard hydrocodone. And I am with a doctor, a diagnostic team. And I think that when it's monitored and you have a doctor, actual doctors, watching your medical situation, that there's also that that stigma to it, that people are ashamed to say that, well, I'm relying on pills. And I think it is different for every condition. And it's one of the things that does work for some people, and they do it responsibly. I've been responsibly on it for 15 years. And I've never upped my dosage, and I've never had an issue with it. And that's just been my own personal experience. With winter coming, I am a professional dancer. And so when we go into the studios first thing in the morning, they are freezing because studios are poor and they can't afford to heat them before you get there. So we go in, the studio is about 5 degrees colder than what it is outside. So we dancers are, stretching is a big help for my pain and keeping me mobile. But we come in, literally, it's so funny. We come in, we dancers, like we're little bundles. We have like 15 layers of clothes on. And literally, as the rehearsal progresses, scarves are being thrown. We come in scarves and hats and everything. And so we just have to slowly work our bodies up. But it's staying warm in those conditions. And so for my pain, I find hot baths and heating pads are my friend. And I think we lost Priya.
Oh no. I was just telling my partner, we were cooking food in the fridge, so I was screaming at him, Robert, the beets are done.
Love you, Robert, if you're watching this.
Hey,
he's
Robert,
not watching. He's in the back making music. So,
Robert, the beets are done. So just so you know.
The beets, not the beets you're working on, but the beets in the
oven. But I think what OJ said was pretty cool. And you want to know something crazy? Heating pads never worked for me. So everybody's different in this panel.
Yeah, and that's I think one of the things that I try to convey to people, that even if you have the same disability or you're disabled, it's just not the same forever. It's just, like Jewel and I both have spinal cord injuries, but at different levels. And we kind of suffer from the same things, but then not the same things. So it is different for everyone. So Jewel or Marguerite or Katrina, do you guys want to go? Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm Katrina Smith, and I am 45. I turned 45 last Saturday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So I deal with what's it called, hypothyroidism, and that kind of like can mimic, fibromyalgia and other conditions. But normally during the cold, I get back pain, or my bones just basically hurt. So what I normally do is either I lay in bed and just let it ease up, or I use a heating pad. So basically, that's what I do with my when I have back pain. So yeah, that's basically what I do.
Okay, so heating pads work for Katrina. Heating pads
Am
work
I the only ice girl here?
I don't know. Marguerite
And
says,
great
wait a
feedback,
second, let
Katrina.
me
Marguerite?
unmute. Marguerite
Thank you,
gives a
Ty.
thumbs up. Do you want to go next, Marguerite, or is there something in the chat? Oh yeah, I see a chat here. I didn't open it. Oh, Will is on YouTube. Hi, Will. Hi, Will.
Hi, Will.
Um, okay, so Marguerite, do you want to go? You're muted. You're gonna type? Okay, you type, and then while she's typing, Jewel, why don't you go?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm
Hi,
Jewel.
Jules. I
Hi,
missed you.
everybody. I'm so happy to see everybody. My name's Jewel. I have a spinal cord injury, like Priya said. I'm a diagnosed quadriplegic, C4 level, and I do a little bit of everything. What everyone said, honestly, like OG said, stretching and working out. I mean, in general, it helps so much. Definitely with neuropathy, and then like Talia, I also take CBD and medical marijuana. Um, the edibles work really well for me during that time, especially with spasticity. I can't even say it.
Spasticity, you're
That
right.
word.
Yeah, yeah, that really helps. And heat, yeah, heating pads, warm liquids. Like my space heater is like my best friend during the winter. I'll put it like right by my bed. So yeah, it's a little bit of all of that honestly helps me because during that time, yeah, my pain levels get higher. So yeah.
Yeah, I also didn't mention stretching and exercise for me. I mean, but I don't know if it's necessarily a winter thing. I just do that all year.
In the
So-
winter,
But in the winter, probably that
It-
helps me a little more. So
I don't know about you guys, but in the winter, due to the type of cerebral palsy that I have, spastic dysplasia, my legs are in. They like to scissor. They call them scissor gated legs. So what they do is my legs go crisscrossed, like scissors, like you would see actual scissors. So
Mhm.
it's very hard for me to stretch, and what I do is I have to put a pillow in between my legs. Sorry for being so medical today.
No, you're
That's
good.
okay. I mean, maybe that is a discussion we should have because while we don't want to be defined by our medical thing, medical and social are connected. There's not, you can't separate the medical from the
Marguerite
disability.
put something in the
Yeah,
chat.
I know. I saw her. Thank you, though. Marguerite says, I have cerebral palsy and cervical dystonia, and with the use of Botox in my neck muscle area in the last 3 years and the use of natural spices, seasons mixes, will be 66 next month. My CP is different from being in pain. Exercise helps my muscles, stretching, yoga, weight training. Okay, thanks, Marguerite. I mean, I think that's another thing, like as we age, our bodies
Marguerite, you're a
age.
rock star. I hope
Yeah.
to be like you at 66.
Oh, I think you will be. You have that energy. Yeah, like as we age, our bodies also age. So, that's something we need to think about. Did you want to say something, Marguerite? Thank you.
Thank
You're,
you.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. So yeah, stretching and exercise, and like Marguerite said, exercise, and Marguerite was a younger runner when she was, she's a runner, so the movement really does help a lot. I mean, that's what my pain, it's like, even though I'm in pain, I this is literally what I say to myself when I have to get up. I'm like, it's painful, but it will not kill you. Just get up, because our
Yeah,
pain isn't going to kill us. It's just painful. And then sometimes even when I move, it helps the pain a little. And
Yeah.
I got approved for the standing wheelchair, and I do stand in it every day. And I do notice it does help with the neuropathy, and nothing I've ever done seems to help with the neuropathy. Like the spasticity, I can kind of manage here and there a little bit, depending on how bad it is that day. But the neuropathy is just, I don't know, like hot showers and stuff like that help me. But I
And
haven't
guided
found,
imagery. I always think of that guided imagery, just getting when none of those things work, all I do is like, I'll read, just do something where my brain just focuses on something else so that it doesn't like ruin my whole day,
oh yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah, but
anything that can get your mind off of it.
Yeah, keeping busy, of course.
I
Yeah.
whenever I have a high pain day, I try listening to country music because that's the only thing that like relaxes me.
Yeah, music helps a lot for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do meditation, but I do like to point out that meditation does not fix my pain. The only thing that meditation can do is change the way I am reacting toward my pain.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's a misconception that a lot of able-bodied people have, is that, if you just think positive thoughts.
Yeah,
And
no.
so I've
Yeah,
actually
no.
been working with someone who I really enjoy their guided meditations, because they're not about, oh, think a happy thought and everything, but more about, this thing is happening to me. I am acknowledging it, that it's happening to me. And, and I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to, relax my body and do what I can. But it's not just put a happy sticker on it. It's more
Yeah.
about just being aware of, what you can control, which is your reaction to it, and knowing if the pain is like on an over the top day. I just turn all my stuff off and don't. I always just tell my friends, I'm not fit for human consumption today. So
Yeah, I do
get me
that.
tomorrow.
I started doing that too, because a lot of the times a lot of people would come to me and they'll be like, but just think positive and the pain will go away. And I'm like, no. That's the problem with toxic positivity, and the fact that you guys see that I'm in a wheelchair and that I'm always smiling. You think that I don't have my bad days. When I do have my bad days, everybody's like, oh my God, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, tell them that it's not the pain that goes away. That only works with Tinkerbell.
Yeah, that only like I had to tell one of my family members one day, because they were like, you got to be tough, you weren't raised like this. I was like, screw you, let me have my effing moment and leave me alone.
Yeah, and I do think when you're like, I think all of us here are pretty like, like our public face is very happy and, like talking, and people just, and when you're like that, people just don't realize. And even with my partner who I live with, he knows what kind of pain. And if I'm just like upset or crying, he's like, and he's freaking out. And I'm like, can you just let me have a day where I just want to cry and like be upset about the pain? Just let me be upset about it. And then he's like, oh God. Then he'll go off and do his thing. But yeah, I have to remind even someone that lives with me that knows.
Like, it's okay to readjust. Sorry, Pri.
What did you say? I didn't hear.
I said it's okay to restart yourself. It's like restarting a computer.
Oh yeah, crying. I love crying. I mean, I was reading this book. I forget the girl's name, Kia something, and she was like talking about how she was just like a cried from childhood. She always cried, and I kind of always think that too. I think we live in this society that if you cry, then it's like a bad thing. But yeah, I just think everybody should cry. And I think we also put men in this weird, like, don't cry, like men are like, won't cry. I was like, I think everyone should cry. I told my partner that I was like, everybody needs to cry. Men should cry too, because they have problems too.
And they have feelings.
And problems, so they should cry. So yeah, I do think crying is a really positive release. I mean, of course, you shouldn't, balancing, keep everything in balance. Like,
Mhm.
you don't want to be crying every second of the day, but let yourself cry for a good period of time, and that's okay. What about here? Has anyone who's cried? Who's cried?
Actually, it was reminding me of the reel I made. I don't know if any of you follow me on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I do.
I did the one about the day when this was going to be a crying day. So I'm doing the dishes crying. I'm just doing whatever I do.
Yeah, I saw that. It's hilarious.
Crying. It's like, okay, this day, like you were saying about getting out of bed.
Right.
My kids tease me because my mantra when I'm having that day is, I can do it. Yes, I can. If I can't do it, well, I got to do it anyway.
Yeah, it's like,
Fling yourself out of bed.
but like, do you feel like, this is a question for all you guys, and I'm sorry, Pri, but this is just created so much dialogue in my head. I have a question for you guys. Do you feel like, since your family members see you always like smiling and happy-go-lucky despite the pain sometimes, that you always have to smile around them because of it?
Well, I'll answer first. I don't feel like I have to, but like when they're not registering it, then I'm kind of I'll say it. This is an adult content station. No, it's not. But I'll be a bitch about it. I'll be like, shut up. I'm hurting. You just need to back off.
I'm not the only one that feels bad for yelling at my dad then for telling him, back off.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do that. And that's, people, I also don't really like the term self-care. I call it taking care of yourself, because I feel like self-care kind of puts you in the category of women going to spas and sitting in hot tubs and getting massages. And so I just don't like the term self-care. I understand it, but I just feel like taking care of yourself, and that's part of taking care of yourself, is telling someone like, hey, back off. I need this space because I need to process everything that's happening to me. It's a lot, and I need to process all of this. So anyone else? Me and Talia and Audrey can talk all day and night, guys.
Jump in there. Come on, Jill.
I mean,
Katrina. Jump in.
Okay. I haven't quite heard.
With Talia, I understand. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Katrina.
Go
then
ahead.
After that, go ahead, Jewel. After Katrina.
I didn't quite hear the question because Ty had froze up. So can you explain?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I said, do you ever feel like you have to put on a front like you're okay in front of your family members because they see you have a disability and they expect you to always smile and toughen up?
No, not exactly, but I do have moments where I feel that way. So what I do is I kind of like talk to one of my family members to kind of, get that thought out my head, and it kind of helps. But yeah.
Okay, thanks, Katrina.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jewel. After Jewel, then Marguerite wrote something in the chat, so I'll read that. But go ahead, Jewel.
No, I was just gonna say with Talia, I understand what you mean when you say you want to put on a happy face in front of your family because they expect that, and you want to be a positive. You don't want to feel like that whenever they're when even if you're not feeling good that they see that, but eventually that's gonna work. It's gonna be hard to be happy all the time in front of your family. And they're gonna see that they should see that you're in pain, or be more empathetic. If you're not having a good day, you don't always have to put on a happy face. It's that's a lot of like emotional overhead for you.
Yeah.
When you're trying to smile and be happy for them, but you're like you're putting on a face because you're to protect them. So I understand that.
I feel like that's where toxic positivity comes in too, because society has created, well, if you're disabled, you're automatically labeled as somebody that's supposed to inspire people. So it's
Right.
it's a society thing too.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I'm going to read. Marguerite wrote something. She goes, and sometimes people don't understand why we have certain pain, including crying in pain or mental crying is different from physical crying. Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Agreed.
One of the inspirations for the reels I do, um, is I was working with a media company, and I actually had one of the representatives saying, well, don't be representing, disabled people as anything other than happy. And
What?
so I fired myself from them. And one of the things that one of the
Kudos to you.
thank you, that some of my crazy followers have sent me such positive feedback, that because they see me being grumpy, they see me, when I play about, oh, I'm going to go hit this person with a bat, or I ran over this ableist's toe, or, just to have that humor out there, is that this is the reality. And we're not going to be happy, positive. And I actually have a great big sign, and I really need it on a t-shirt, because I am no one's inspiration. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
if
I am no
you
one's
make that
inspiration.
t-shirt, I'll buy it, OG.
Okay, I will make that t-shirt, because I have no one's inspiration. I have no
Thank
time for
you.
that, unless you
I
want to
say
pay
that
me.
all the time.
If
And
you would like
people
to
look
pay
at me
me to
like,
be your
what?
inspiration, I
You-
will take donations.
That's like the one time I was at the brewery with my cousin Cheyenne. She was 20 at the time, and this man comes up to me with the shirt that says God is for real. He comes up to me, he's like, "What's wrong with your body? What can I heal you from?" I said, "Sir, I don't want to be healed. My body's perfectly fine, but what I would ask you to pray for is awareness for cerebral palsy." He looks at me like I'm crazy, and my cousin's like, "You were so nonchalant about it. Why wouldn't you let the man pray for you?" I said, "You see, that's the stigma right there. You never do that."
Yeah,
Because they
I
make it
always
seem like you're suffering. And that's part of the inspirational thing, too.
it's one of the things I remind people, is that if you want to pray for somebody, you don't have to ask us. You can go like you're supposed to and go home and pray for somebody all you want. You do not have to have my permission. You don't have to lay your hands on me. You don't have to do any of those things. And
Yeah.
so just pray and move along. That's what I tell
Yeah.
people when they say that. I said, sure, you can go home into your closet. I'm pretty sure that's what Jesus said. Get into a closet and pray for me. That's fabulous.
Yeah,
And
that's
okay,
great. Like, and my parents are, because they're just getting into this whole advocacy world. Because back when I was a kid, we used to think that these things were okay because there wasn't a lot of information on it. But now I'm like, nope, I'm going into advocacy mode. This is not okay. This is ableism. This is toxic positivity. Like, no, we're not doing it.
Well,
and
yeah, I feel like a lot of these ideas, or the toxic positivity and the it's kind of a new idea. It's literally, I mean, they've been talked about like in disability studies, academia books, but but as far as coming out to people, everybody, like the common folk, the general public, I don't know. I mean, even when I was disabled in 1999, I never heard the word ableism. I did maybe inspiration porn. I kind of didn't, in 1999, I certainly didn't hear about things like that. And I feel like, and it wasn't like I was like totally unaware and stuff like that. So I just feel like a lot of this stuff is flooded out lately. And unfortunately, we have to be patient and keep saying it so people finally understand. Because guess what? We all know this, we all say this all the time, everybody can be disabled at some time in their life. And then when they finally become disabled, they're going to be like, oh, that stuff that Priya, Oji, Katrina, Talia, Marguerite, and Jewel were talking about, that makes sense to me now. But, like I always tell my friends, hey, I'm doing this for you before you become disabled. You want to get things in place before you have to figure out how to get around in the world. I'm helping you.
And it's interesting because chronic pain is kind of a unifying thing in a lot of ways. Not all disabilities are painful,
Right.
but it's kind of a thing that is a common enough, and sometimes that is the major obstacle to get over. And when the society is just telling us to suck it up,
Right.
and that becomes a burden we don't need. We've got enough on our plates. And with the winter time, it's, I always say that nothing is like getting into an ice cold wheelchair first thing on a January morning. And so when you're talking about the stigmas and pain, I think that because there's a certain way of thinking in our society that pain is just something you can get over. Whereas if you're missing a limb, you're missing a leg, if you've got something that they can physically see, that in their minds is different, when the pain is extremely real to us. And it's not, and you're just like Priya said, unless it's happening to them, they can't see the cause. They can't see what's. Thank you, Marguerite.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's it. We talk about invisible disability, even though I'm not sure. I feel like most of it, maybe not Katrina. I don't know if you use a wheelchair, Katrina, but I feel like a lot of us have visible disabilities, but chronic pain is an invisible disability that people just don't really understand. Like they just see you're disabled. They're like, oh, you can't walk. And I always tell people paralysis was really easy to overcome. Pain, not
it's
really.
never easy to overcome. Like I could tell you an experience. Was it June, Priya, that I was rushed to the hospital because of my chronic hip pain that I've had for several years? Was it June?
I can't remember what month it was.
Yeah,
it was in the summer.
I think it was June. So I'm in the hospital. They tell me, well, Miss Flores, we can't do anything about it because it's chronic pain, but we could give you oxycodone. But mind you, this is a highly addictive medication.
Right.
So I left the hospital with no answers, mind you. And then for like a month straight, I was going from orthopedic to orthopedic to orthopedic to only find out they don't specialize in people with my case that have cerebral palsy. So now I'm back to square one and finding a doctor that could fix my hip dislocation.
Well, I'm sorry about that, of course, Talia. But in December, I do want to have a conversation about disability in the medical industry and medication, because I think this is like a huge issue, especially when you're disabled, when your doctors don't know how to help. Like they're almost ableist in their thinking. So it's a huge issue, but we're going to just try to keep it to managing, or this conversation we're talking about crying and stuff like that. That's fun. But the emotion you go through when you are in pain, it's definitely a real thing, and it's frustrating because we all want to do things, and so we're like, the pain, darn it. So
it's with winter also comes so many holidays, so many family events.
Yeah,
that we all, and we don't want to, but there's certain accommodations that, especially if you have a chronic pain condition that is difficult, they're not, sometimes your family members aren't going to understand. I need to go lay down. I only have I call it, I only have so much vertical time. And then I must balance that with horizontal time, or, that I have to maybe be propped up on cushions. I'm having to go on a long trip with my family these holidays for 4.5 hours in a car, which for me is like, a complete torture chamber on every scale of that. And I had to explain to them the accommodations I was going to need. I'm going to need a place to take hot baths. I'm going to need to be able to stop every once in a while and get out of the car. I'm going to have to be able to sleep in between. At first they were going, let's do 4.5 hours in the car, and then a 4-hour boat trip, and then another 4-hour boat trip, and then let's get right back in the car for another 4.5 hours. And I said, I will die.
Yeah,
I will die if you do that.
I just did a 16-hour trip to New York City for my grandpa's celebration of life. He passed away this July, and that was like not fun.
Yeah. So,
I get it.
Yeah. And so I got them to, get us hotel rooms so we can, break up the trip over 3 days. And that they understand, like I told them the first night, I said, we're going to get out of the car. I'm going to go take a hot bath and I'm going to bed at 7 p.m. And I love you. And I'm going to bed.
yeah, like I don't want to be bothered. Like usually when I need a break and my mom knows that I came up with a code word not to make people feel bad. I say, CP's having a party, gotta go. Everybody knows Ty's going to bed. Like
I actually have a signal when I'm at a social gathering with my friends or with family, and I'll just kind of like start playing with my hair and pushing it behind my ears. And that's like the signal, like, okay, that is your 30-minute warning.
So everybody, it's time to go.
You got 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, so that is true because like along with winter does, then it's like, Halloween's coming and then Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then New Year's. So it's like one thing after another. And it's things you want to take part in, but it's just like you have to figure out how to manage it physically and emotionally, really. So
yeah, and going to your family's house and they keep the house freezing cold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
So I bring my own heating pad. I'm like, I came to one family member's house because they just wouldn't hear me about the temperature, and I brought my heating blanket and my it's like, okay, I'm ready. You have 1 hour and go.
Yeah, then when you do things like that, I feel like people like judge you, like they
can judge away.
I know, but they like I mean, yeah, I don't really care. I'm just like, whatever, this is what I have to do. But yeah, it's just like people kind of think like, oh, she's being so insistent on this.
Yes, I insist on not being in pain. I am just so crazy that way.
Or when your family members have stairs and you're catching a spasm while they're carrying you up the stairs.
Yeah.
My uncle's house in Asheville, North Carolina.
Well, yeah, I mean, traveling, I did, right after I had my spinal cord injury, I'm in a band. And so I do have a lot of experience with traveling on the road. Because we toured a lot, but now my pain, it's like kind of really in this last almost 2 years of this pandemic, my pain has gotten worse. And so I'm just like, I can't go for a week and play here, play there. Like maybe I can go to one place and then come back like that. So yeah, it's just like, it's hard. It's hard doing things like that. But yeah, sometimes like places I'll play, I'll have a stair and people will carry me. And I don't want people to carry me because my body hurts. And so when people grab your body and like carry you up the stairs, it's something I am always like, I would prefer to get on the stairs and push myself up on my butt because I don't know. I feel like that way. I don't know. I feel like that's almost like stretching.
I get embarrassed by it. Like, I get embarrassed by that. And then people just stare at you. Like, I'm like, go stare at something else.
Oh, I do a monologue. I just encourage, you're going to stare at me? Well, here, let's do my comedy routine.
I know.
Or I'll go, hey, wouldn't it be great if this place had some access? Like if they had an elevator or something? Wouldn't that be
Yeah, I don't really get embarrassed. I take more the attitude is like, well, this is bullshit, but all right, whatever. I have to get carried up the fucking stairs now and fine. So yeah, I don't really get embarrassed. I get irritated by the whole situation.
Yeah, it's more annoying than like embarrassing.
Yeah, to me. And
if they're looking, who cares, you don't know them. I just think they don't know you,
If you guy looking at me, then I'll just be like, hey, I'll take the advantage. I'll be like, hey.
Yeah, let's you want to give me a hand,
Like I did that with the fighters once.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joel, is that I think that, and I think part of that comes with age. I mean, I'm 56 now, and I work with a lot of people when they're newly. I used to be a mentor for for young women as they were kind of like myself, who came to disability in the middle of their lives.
Right.
And I told them that a lot of it is there's a choice between when you want to wear your advocate hat and when you don't. And I said, your advocate hat's not going to go with every outfit you want to wear that day. So you get to choose when you do it. And there's a certain amount of just not caring. You know, if they want to stare, you know, if that, more power to them. But again, I'll use that opportunity. Like if I'm in a public place, that these places should have, you know, better accessibility. So let's talk about it while I'm shimmying my butt up the stairs. Let's do that.
Yeah.
I've got your attention.
Marguerite, I don't see anything in the chat.
Her Zoom is frozen. It's on YouTube.
Oh, what?
Thank
Uh,
you.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
did you send it to Katrina? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
go
on
ahead.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, she's on direct message. Okay, got it. Everybody.
Says, I don't assume that we need help with everything. She wrote that on YouTube.
Got it.
Oh, you don't assume that we need help with everything. What do you mean by that? You don't, who doesn't assume I didn't understand that comment. I'm sorry.
Marguerite.
Okay. Well, okay. People, we always assume that we need help.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But when I tell them not to help me, always ask first. Do not assume that we need help with everything.
It's like the GIMP rules. Number 6 is always helpful help, and helpful help is the help that we ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
definitely.
Marguerite.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. People just assume when you're disabled, you need help. And sometimes their help
It's
is
not helpful.
actually
Sometimes
not
their help
helpful,
is
like
worse.
what OG said. Yeah, what OG said. And I think people don't really understand. Disabled people have figured out how to manage their lives and do things. So when they come across an obstacle, they know exactly how to deal with it. And people that don't understand that are, you know, they're like, I don't know, they're dumbfounded, or they're like, oh, let me, like, I remember one, like I went to a store and it was accessible with stuff. She was, I'm in a power wheelchair, and she was like, oh, let me pull your power wheelchair in. And I was like, and she didn't ask me. She didn't ask me. She just grabbed it. And I was like, first of all, you're not going to be able to do this. I'm probably like about 200 pounds myself. And then this wheelchair is probably another 250, 300. I don't know how much it weighs, but it's like 500 pounds. You're not going to be able to pull this into your store.
That reminds me of when I was dropping donuts off at the fire department, and I had a nurse at the time that my parents didn't know couldn't lift me up because she did it fine when mom was around, but when other people weren't around, she didn't know how to lift me up. So this big overweight, he was a cute country fighter, but he was big and overweight, and he offered to help me get in the car, but even he couldn't do it. So it took 5 fighter fighters to get me into the car.
Were they all cute?
Yeah, they were
Okay.
all gorgeous, but
cute help is nice. You know, if they can't be helpful, can they be cute?
Yeah, it was nice. But I had to let my nurse go after that day. But sometimes I like when people help, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Like it depends on the situation. Like if you see me opening a cup that I'm already used to opening, don't open it for me because I need to learn how to be independent. Or when people see me opening up a bag of chips, they're like, oh, do you need help with it? And the bag of chips is already open.
Yeah, well,
It's
that's
like you're
the thing
taken
is
away
with,
from my independence.
yeah, with the fire department people, that was, you needed help, so you were asking.
Yeah,
for help.
I was happy with that.
Yeah,
one.
you are asking for that help. But, you know, with the potato chips and the cup, you're not asking for help. You're doing it, and they're observing that it's taking you a little time or whatever. And I feel that's like
There you
another
go.
thing is like the idea of
There you go.
difference. Like if everybody's not doing everything exactly the same way, then people are like, oh, that's wrong. I should go help her. Let me grab the cup out of her hand and open it for her and give it back to her. Like that
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah, and I'm
Which is
just like,
which is
no.
ableist.
Exactly, Joel. That's exactly right.
But
Yeah, which is ableist, exactly. So.
And they're,
Yeah,
you know, they're enabling you from, you know, being independent. You know, I think family members do that a lot too. You know, they'll want to help you because it's faster or because you're taking too long, and you know, you have to just tell them, let me do it, like you said, so that it just becomes, you know, second nature, and that's the only way that you'll be independent.
building on what
Yeah.
Jules said, you know,
And-
going back to, you know, family gatherings, you know, I've had, or like on this trip, you know, I've had, you know, we were talking about, well, do you have to take your wheelchair? We really don't want to take up all that room. Or do you have to bring your walker in the house? You know, that's going to get dirt on my carpets.
right.
And
Right.
so many times, if you have the capacity to maybe like I do, where I can do canes, I can do them. I don't want to do them. They are painful. My hands aren't really that great at doing them, but we feel that obligation to be easier for our families, to accommodate us. And that's something that, again, we have to really, with the winter months, to really have these conversations before the events and say, I'm going, it's like with this trip, I started to do that hesitancy. Should I bring both my chair and my walker, which I need both
I
for
bring
such a
all
long
three.
trip. And so I just had that conversation with them, and I'm like, you know, it's winter, it's cold. I need both of these things. And so I can bring less stuff. I can, you know, ask to bring another vehicle. We'll rent a different vehicle. But you really have to advocate yourself with family, because I think with family, they want to be on your side, and it's educating them. And then that will help with, because like it took a couple of years, but now like when they plan things like the Christmas dinner this year, they actually thought about which one of these houses is accessible. And I almost cried. I was just so happy. They thought, oh, and they were like, here's where the accessible parking is. Here's where the elevator is. And
and that's great, because it's so tiresome when you're doing advocacy or activism, and then even your own family or people close to you aren't getting it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, they're thinking about
it only took 10 years.
And it does really make you happy. But the other thing I wanted to bring up about winter is snow too. Like you know, it snows here. It does snow in the winter, not every winter, but sometimes it snows a lot, and you know, forget about it. I'm not going out in my wheelchair in that.
New York.
But you know, if you need to get from one place to another, it's safer for you to be in a wheelchair than using your canes on some slippery snow and then falling and hurting yourself more, type of thing. So
and that's something I had to teach also, because our own internalized ableism, I think is something that, you know, it was like the last time it snowed here, I first got out on my crutches, actually, which are a little more sturdier, and I could get around a little bit. I kind of toddled around, but then I'm like, screw this, and I got in my chair, and I got some fabulous video of just playing in the snow like everybody else in my chair, and just making it okay, you know, and not worrying about what other people were thinking. Like, you know, a recent reel I did where we were at the waterfall and everybody was like, don't let her get in the waterfall, she's gonna fall. And I'm like, and watch me go get in the waterfall.
I mean, I did that one time. It snowed here, and you know, in Asheville, so, you know, it's the South, so they're like, we're just going to wait for it to melt. Like they don't like bring out the snow plows. And if you live in an apartment complex, they don't even really do anything. They just wait for it to melt. So one day I was like, I'm going to see how far I can get. And so like I had my friend video it and I just rolled into the snow. And yeah, I did. I got into it, but then I couldn't get out of it. Like my partner and my other friend had to push me back into the hallway where the snow wasn't there. But yeah. And then like for me, like it's, just because I was not disabled earlier in my life, and I lived in places where it snowed. So like when it snows here, everyone's like, it's snowing. It's so much fun. And everyone's posting about
Yeah,
all the
you're
different
like,
things they're doing. And I'm
you're
like,
like, I could care
"Man, I
less.
wish I could go. I wish I could have all that fun." But then when it snows for 2 weeks and everyone's over the snow, they're like, I'm depressed. I'm
Yeah,
depressed.
that's how I felt living in New York too. Everybody used to be like, it's snowing. I'm like, I could care less. I'm going back to the apartment.
I always say snow is not accessible.
It's
Snow
not.
is not accessible. So that's like my thing.
Yeah,
That's
I
literally what I just tell people when they're like, the snow and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, snow's not accessible. And Asheville, a lot of people go hiking and they talk about it a lot. And I'm like, yeah, nature is not accessible.
Yeah, when we went,
nature doesn't care if I'm in a wheelchair.
we had
And
that
not there are trails that have been made accessible for people
Right.
that want to do it. But, if there's no trail carved out by a human, nature's just not accessible.
Oh, Marguerite said she'll be right back. She had to restart her computer.
Okay, yeah, I
Oh,
see she's coming in.
yeah.
I'm
You're
gonna
so plugged
admit.
with the technology.
I know.
Is there someone missing, Pri?
I don't know. No, there was with Marguerite, but she's coming back in.
I know.
While we're
but I
waiting
feel
for
like there's someone-
Marguerite, I was
feel
gonna just share that when one of the things about winter is that we went to this local place where it's kind of like the glamping thing almost, where they have
Mhm.
these little trailer campers, and I made the reservation 11 months in advance. And it wasn't until 3 days before the thing that they told me that I could either have an accessible cabin or one less bed in the cabin. So it's like, it didn't occur
What?
to them that disabled people might have friends or more than one family member. And it took them 11 months to figure that out. And they could not understand. And of course, by then the place was booked, so we couldn't have gotten an additional, a cabin.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, we'll do the 2 beds because I'm not going to tell people they can't come now. But,
Right.
but I could not take a shower the entire time I was there. I could barely get into the bathroom. And when I was talking to the company, they were like, well, you could not have accessed that second bed because it's like bunk beds. And I'm like, I understand that, but you asked me to be in a cabin that I couldn't access the shower or the toilet or
Like,
the sink.
What if they want you to do stink?
I managed. I managed. I got in a waterfall. That's what I did. I got in a waterfall.
That's nice, but still.
But again, it's that educating your family because a lot of families go on vacation spots, and getting them, the person who's making the arrangements to think all the things that you need for a trip. And if you have those conversations, this is just my advice. I always tell people to have those conversations in advance.
Right.
And with somebody in the family that you really trust and can, who can be an advocate for you. And it actually makes them, I feel like it actually, when I started like choosing some people in my family to kind of like be my family advocate, it actually helped that process for Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's, for them to actually start putting those ideas in and around family, and especially during the winter, because again, snow is not accessible. My father has a cabin up in the Blue Ridge. Okay, well, the cabin is lovely, but nothing outside of the cabin is accessible, even a little bit, not even a tiny bit. So I can go to the cabin and I can do, but once I'm in, I'm in. And once I'm gone, I'm gone.
Right.
And I'm very lucky to have very strong brothers who are just capable of picking me up and carrying me up.
But yeah, that's it. Like, that is really good advice. Like, when you're planning something like that, I mean, it sucks because it is a burden on us to find out if a place is accessible, but I guess it's more of a burden if it's not accessible. Like, at least you know ahead of time.
Yeah.
And you can do something about it. But
And a lot of times you make reservations and the place ends up not even being accessible, which is also like really frustrating when you get there and they're like, oh yeah, it's accessible. And you're like, no, you know, what's your version of accessible?
And
like,
it's interesting. Yeah, because people don't know what accessible actually means.
yeah, that's really frustrating.
I would say
Yeah.
I always have to like have the follow-up questions. Like when
Yeah,
you
the
say your
follow-up.
restaurant is accessible, do you mean that I can go up the wheelie thing where the trash goes in and out through the kitchen? Is that what
wheelie
you
thing.
mean? Because I just want to know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, really specific.
And then
Yeah.
you,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
One
there,
step is all it takes. One step is all it
Yep.
takes for it no longer to
Yep.
be accessible.
right,
and then
right.
you go there, and then it makes
few
you look like you're
inches.
Karen.
Yeah, Joel.
I'm sorry, Talia, you got cut out.
Well, when you go there and you find out the places aren't accessible, you have to be a disabled Karen. And I'm proudly to say that I am proudly a disabled Karen, and I do not care when it comes to my rights.
Well, you know, I think the term Karen is people that are complaining about things that they don't really need to complain about. So I would describe you as a disabled Karen.
We have to come up with our own name now.
Can I share this experience though? One time I went to this restaurant called Cheddar's, and the guy assumed just because I was in a wheelchair that he could put me in a booth and I could transfer out. But I'm saying to him, but I can't walk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, often when Robert and I go to restaurants, because I can transfer, I'm fortunate that I can transfer in and out of my wheelchair pretty easily. I can't walk, but I can transfer to a booth. So, you know, if it's a restaurant where the booth will be easier, I just transfer and Robert folds the role, you know, not the, if power wheelchair, of course, I can, but even with the power wheelchair, I've transferred out of it and Robert's moved it to like by the register or something like that. And then but if I was by myself, you know, I would have to ask the waiter, like, I'm going to transfer, please fold up this or move this wheelchair over there. So yeah, it's, people like when they say things are accessible and it's not, you're like scratching your head, like, what the heck is going on here?
Like, huh?
I mean, even just basic accessibility, like a step, like not even like, you know, like sometimes, you know, restaurants, they don't have a lot of space in between, you know, that's inaccessible too, but it's not, it's not really the, you know, an obvious accessibility accommodation. And Marguerite says, but two-floor diners are not accessible when the elevator is in the kitchen area and the restrooms are in the same area.
Yeah. Amen, Marguerite. Amen.
Yes.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah, I was working for a hotel that they were very excited about this very accessible bathroom they created for their main public area, and it was lovely. Once you got in there, it was just a boom of accessibility, but it was up 3 decorative steps. And I'm like, you thought of everything about accessible bathrooms except us being able to actually get into
like
the accessible bathroom.
Ramp.
And I'm like, really? So I you know, again, I teaching your family follow-up questions like,
I feel like that should be a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yes,
OG,
it really
like,
was.
Yes.
It's like where they think about everything, and it's just like, but I can't
so here's
get
the thing.
in.
So they pick me up to put so I could go and see it.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was like, it doesn't matter. This is actually where that rule came from, which is it does not matter how accessible something is once we get inside. If we cannot get inside, then it is not
Oh.
accessible. And that's just how accessible works. So yeah, that's my rant.
Yeah,
that's
that
my
was-
TED Talk. That's my TED Talk.
That was a big epic fail.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so close.
Like,
So funny.
not quite. They could have built a ramp.
It didn't, but the stairs are decorative. That's the thing I hate about the decorative stairs, is that when they don't even serve a purpose.
Yeah, they're not necessary. They just
They're-
put
they're
them
just
there
there to
because
be
they
pretty.
thought it looks nice or
I
something.
said, you know, you can decorate a ramp too. We can put some lights on it, some little spinny
Yeah.
things, color
You-
it.
You could paint it.
There
you
you
could paint
go.
a mural on the ramp.
Yeah,
All kinds of things.
give
You can,
it flames.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
decorate it. It's more space to put art on or something.
There you go.
Okay, Marguerite. Oh, did I not? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
This
she's
is-
got one more.
Yes, I see. When I am hard of hearing, they will scream as loud as possible. Yeah. So explain that, Marguerite, is like, is your hearing, does it come in and out, or are you always hard of hearing, or?
Yes, I've been hard of hearing since the age of 5.
Mm.
But the hearing aids that I got now pick up the double echo sound,
Mm-hmm.
and the echo sound goes like
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
when people get this close to my ear, and with my hearing, I am normal, like everybody else. With my hearing,
Ah.
but without my hearing, I cannot hear nothing unless they are this close to my ear.
Ah.
I
And
see.
so when people start to scream,
Mm-hmm.
I said, please do not scream. Use your normal tone. And then they will do it in slow motion. Like, how are you? I am fine. Thank you. I will use the same tone back to them
That's great.
because I want them to hear what they sound like, and it is not funny.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, that's people.
good.
Yeah, that's great. You did a really good, I was going to say, that's a really great impersonation, Marguerite.
I was about to say, that's
Yeah,
really
that
good. I like
really was. I was
it.
like, does any, like, with me, when it comes to screaming, it does affect my pain. Like, whenever somebody makes a loud noise or a bang or a scream,
Mhm.
it affects my pain.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I
Like,
haven't really noticed that.
confrontation and being in stressful situations, I notice I'm in pain more.
Yeah.
So I avoid it.
I have I see a correlation with my migraines, because it can trigger a migraine
Mhm.
if it's really, really loud. And it's something I've been experimenting with about with like earplugs. But sometimes, like when you're at a family gathering, I mean, people are talking so loud and they're talking, especially at my family, because everybody's talking at once. There's a lot of us, we're the loud family. And sometimes I just have to go outside and just deplode a little bit.
Right.
And again, it's just advocating for yourself and just having that. But what Marguerite was saying reminded me. So I do a lot of, like, on my office and everything is in my room, and I had a friend over and I realized I have no chairs in this room because all of my friends are wheelchair people. And I was like, what? You didn't bring your own chair? What? You came to my, what? I gotta provide you with a chair? That's really inconvenient for me. I just think,
Yeah, whenever I go to a concert, I'm going to read that. Whenever I go to a concert or something and, there's like open seating, I'm like, oh, I brought my own chair. So I don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to sit right here, move my wheelchair over here and sit right here. Sometimes I'll even go right up to the front. Be like, oh, I got my own chair. Sorry, guys. Everyone's got to go back there. Marguerite says nerve pain is painful.
Yeah.
I agree. Agree.
Yeah, it's very painful. Like, it just feels like an elephant is stomping. Who the heck is calling me? I will get to you guys later. I'm in the middle of a panel.
Oh, yeah. I was like, okay, you have to take a book. I thought you were talking to us. Like,
No,
okay.
I'm like, I will call them back later. I'm in the middle of a panel. They can wait.
Yeah, totally. I understand.
Everyone's pain is different. I know that, some people get the burning, some people get the pins and needles, the weight, like the heaviness. So like, I think everyone has different like types of pain too.
Yeah, different quality of pain. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Do you,
the buzzing?
Marguerite, what kind of nerve pain do you have? Is it spasticity?
Yeah. Like,
You're going to show us the pain. Oh, yeah. So what is that? Is that your bone or a muscle?
no. Back in 05, 06, I broke my arm, and it was a compound fracture.
Mm-hmm.
Picture, picture the letter Z. My this part of the bone was sticking out. This this part was sticking out, and it caused the nerve to be damaged from the inside of my thumb all the way down to my forearm. That nerve is still there, but if I sleep on it too long, like sleeping on it, it gets numb.
Building on what Marguerite said, like when she says sleeping on it too long, I find that in the winter time, especially, if you got to be really careful, which side you're sleeping on, and where I've broken bones as a dancer, I broke one in my hand and one in my foot. That's where the winter really gets into that pain.
Right.
If you break a bone or damage a bone, where they removed my bursa in my upper left leg, that can really, the winter can really penetrate those kinds of injuries.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and it's one of the reasons you don't want to fall,
Yeah, yeah.
as a disabled person, is that, it just adds to the thing that, but for me, the bone pain, that's nothing can reach that. I have found no drug, no heating pad.
Right.
When it's in your bones. Yeah.
Like electricity, like you think that's what it
Yeah.
feels like. It's like electric shock.
Oh yeah, I get those in my back and in my hip and at night. So I'm not a full sleeper through the night. So what I have to do is I either take a gummy of the medical marijuana, I either take a brownie, or I take the light, or I take an Advil PM. But the combination of both those things puts me right to sleep.
That's good.
I've for sleeping, I take a very mild, it's like the tiniest amount of Xanax that you can take. I didn't even know it came that small. So it's like a tiny little bit of Xanax and a muscle relaxer. Will at least keep me still long enough, because I'll often wake myself up with a spasticity. Or, just because you can't really, in the cold, you can't really get that relaxing that you need. And I often have explained to my doctor, I said, sometimes it's the lack of sleep I think is going to drive me insane long before the pain does. Because for me, pain is like a ringing in the ear. It's not like an actual ringing in the ear, but it's that constant background when you have chronic pain. It's that constantness that, you can manage how you're coping with it, but or how you feel toward it, but it doesn't really fix it. And I think that's the challenge. So when you're at, trying to be social and be with your family, you sometimes that is more than you can do. So you have to have those outlets to go into another room or go lay down or just get away from the masses and not let the little children climb all over you.
Oh yeah,
that's
my
another
nephew.
one. Because little kids don't understand. So
no, they don't.
I find actually but they tend to listen better. And once they get to be about 4 or 5, I just kind of explain to them, this is the way my body is. And, my granddaughter's 4, almost 4 now. And she knows, like, when I'm on the floor, that it's more of I'm more able to kind of play with her than when I'm in the chair, because there's also balance. So, but I do love the way that she is so acclimated to my chair that when other children are fascinated by it, she can't figure it out. She just wants to go play and go do something fun.
Right.
And she just like, what,
She's like,
your Ulysses not in a wheelchair? That must be boring. Let's go find some Barbies and play with.
Yeah. And I'm sorry if this offends you, OJ, but what's your secret for aging? Because I would have never guessed you're a grandma.
Yeah, I have good genes. I think it's the combination of the Irish and the Native American in my family.
So, because that just shocked me.
I just stopped. I stopped coloring my hair, and it's been 2 years since the pandemic, and it's this is what color it is. I try to take care of myself. Like I said, I've been dancing, but I think it's just really good genes. A lot of the people in my family are aging really well. I have aunts who have long, beautiful silver hair, and I wish I had the long, beautiful silver hair, but it's white, so that's not too bad. But,
it's pretty cool. I like it. I always like your hair. So I'm gonna wrap it up here, but I want to read. Marguerite wrote, dancing is form of movements that relax some muscles.
Yeah, I agree with you, Marguerite. Sometimes when I'm in my chair, I'm able to actually do movement I can't do standing up. I can, rock my hips in my chair. I can be in the wheelie, and that actually relieves the pressure off my back. People think I'm just showing off, but it's just relieving the pressure. It's like leaning. I tell them it's my form of leaning.
Right.
And it does, give you that movement. It calms you down. Of course, I do it for a living, so sometimes it's not quite so relaxing.
And it's fun to dance. Like when I went to my cousin's wedding in August, I just got in the standing wheelchair, and I
Ooh.
like kind of went in standing mode, and then like the dancing music came on, and I was just standing there and moved, but
Oh,
it
that's
felt really
amazing.
good. Like people don't really realize like I
Mhm.
have this spasticity. So like when I'm kind of dancing and moving to the music, it actually feels good.
Yeah.
And then, it feels good because you're dancing. Everybody's having a great time dancing,
Yeah.
being free. So that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome too.
Yeah, social dancing is very different than, when
Yeah.
you're doing 3 shows a day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that is
performance dancing. Yeah. That was social dancing, and it felt good though.
Yeah, social
But-
dancing's great. I'm a big fan of the social dancing, but
Yeah, totally. So any last thoughts by anyone here?
I just want to say that
Yes.
you guys are awesome and thanks for having me, but I have to go run and have dinner.
Okay, cool.
So
See you later, Talia.
see ya.
Katrina, were you gonna say something?
Um,
Love and hope. Peace, love, and hope.
Thank
peace,
you,
love, and hope.
Marjorie. Peace, love, and hope to you too.
Katrina?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Katrina.
I'm just gonna refer back to when the whole staring thing. I get stared at a lot. So basically, and I kind of find it funny. So what I do to people is like I kind of like cross my eyes so that my vision is blurry. They kind of freak out about that, and so I just do that, and they walk away.
Good for you. Good for you.
Mhm.
That's so funny, Katrina. I know. I guess we should do a panel on what you should do when non-disabled people are tips and advice on what you should do when non-disabled people
Stare
are
at you.
being silly
Mhm.
and stupid. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know why nothing's coming to my mind, but I just feel like, yeah, we just, like chronic pain is a thing. And wish Renee could have come. Something must have happened. But yeah, like when she was talking to me about that, about how chronic pain is actually the number one cause of disability. And, it's considered a human's rights. It's true because, the more we kind of figure out how we help people deal with it. I mean, because when you live with chronic pain, it's not going away. So you just have to somehow deal with it mentally. And so, yeah, it's really important, I think, for us to kind of look at it in that way, because if you can't heal it, you got to
Live with it.
And let's like as a society or community or whatever you want to call it, like figure out how to let people live with it and how you react to it if you're not
Right.
a person that's dealing with that. So I guess that's my wrap up thoughts. Jewel, do you have any wrap up thoughts?
Yeah, this is just something that we have to cope with. It's just, we can do things to make it better or ease it, or you just hope that you wake up and you won't have it, that day. But I think it's just an ongoing, trying to find just coping with the pain and trying to like live a full life with the pain.
Right.
And then getting the people that love that are around us to understand that, like OG was saying, that, on a high pain day, it's going to be hard to, be smiling the whole time. Or even, sometimes you have to break plans because you don't feel well at all, and like not having that guilt too is also something that we cope with. So
Yeah, definitely.
there's a lot of levels to it, but I'm glad that we all got to talk and share that it's nice that even though we all have pain, it's nice that to have other people that we can relate to. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, it also helps us realize we're not alone dealing
right,
with this.
exactly.
Like sometimes we do feel alone because not everyone around us is having chronic pain. So like, I think getting together with a group of people that have chronic pain, they're like, yeah, I have chronic pain. I do this. And some days it's just bad and I don't do any, and then even for today's panel, like, 3 of the people like wrote me and they're like, oh, it's really bad. And, I could tell they were feeling bad, but I was like, it's okay. Well, there's always future panels. Don't worry about it. So go ahead.
I hope that if, whoever's watching that, think about, it's not great that we have to advocate for ourselves, but finding allies within your family, can help so much with them, because they can help not talk for you, but when you're too, maybe in too much pain or you're not feeling well, that they are on your side. They're your family. They love you, but sometimes they don't know what you need. And just by approaching one, it started with one. I had one brother that I was really close to, and I started with him. And it really did start that dialogue within my family. And now they almost rally around me. I was going to, when Trina was talking about the restaurant, I was asked to go to the back door of a restaurant because they were upset that my brothers were carrying me up the 2 decorative stairs. And they got really just, oh, you're making a scene, blah, 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 blah. Go to the back door. And one of my brothers mentions about another time in history when people were asked to go to the back door of restaurants, and it went down. And I just kind of just took a step back and just, okay. they are like, when they get more upset when people park, when able-bodied people park in disabled parking spaces, they don't have a placard. And they always look first, but it is, again, I did a reel on this. It is, they get more upset than I do when they see.
Right. So
it's
the same with me.
Yeah, they're your family, and just to try to, start with one. Try to find one advocate in your family, and that's my wrap up thought.
All right, thank you. Marguerite says groups of people with disabilities is the key. I agree, Marguerite. And and block sidewalks. I think she was replying to something Oji said, because I don't understand what that means.
Talking about in the restaurant.
Yeah.
So. They blocked it. Yeah. So my brothers were just going to pick me up, and the restaurant got very distressed because you're implying that we're inaccessible. No, we're not implying you're inaccessible.
We're telling you, we're showing you, we're showing you in real life.
And I'm like, and I said, I just want some food. And they're like, well, go to the back door. And that was the wrong thing to say.
Your brother was like, well, let me tell you something about the back
there were 3
door.
of them.
That's great.
These.
That's great. All right. Well, thanks anyone that's watching. Thanks so much. And thank everyone that came to the panel. I really appreciate this. And I was thinking the next one, I was already thinking so many, I was like, oh, we should do a panel about that. We should, like some of the things we talked about, but maybe I'll have to go rewatch the video to remind myself what they were, because I'm forgetting right now. But
I like the able body. Yeah, we'll call it biped etiquette. How to teach bipeds how to have proper etiquette.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's like a great subject. But thank you everyone so much for coming to the panel. I really appreciate it. So goodbye, YouTube. Goodbye.